Welcome back. The Herd is coming up next here on FS1. Let's head over, check in with Colin. Colin, I know you've always been an Andrew Luck guy, so what are you talking about today?
Yeah, he's my favorite college quarterback, probably of my life, because I don't remember John Elway or seeing him in college much on TV. My thoughts on Andrew Luck, why he retired, what does it mean going forward, should we be shocked, all of it coming up next 3 hours. It's The Herd.
Okay, time for our final topic of the day. The Washington Redskins named journeyman Case Keenum their starting quarterback over the weekend, getting the nod ahead of rookie Dwayne Haskins and the injured Colt McCoy. Coach Jay Gruden said that the team has, quote, great confidence in his ability to lead the squad. So, Skip, what is your reaction to this decision?
I am disappointed, and I'm now very concerned about Cowboys at Redskins in week 2 because I respect Case Keenum, and I will fear Case Keenum in week 2. And I wish they had thrown young Dwayne Haskins into the fire because it would be a metallic blue fire in week 2, and we would have a pretty easy time. Now I don't think we will have
even easier time with Case Keenum.
No, that's wrong.
In 99-year history, the flukiest season that ever was directed by who, Skip?
Watch him pull off the flukiest win ever opening day at Philly. Watch him pull that one off.
Skip, there's a reason why Case Keenum is on his 5th or 6th team. You and I both know he's not very good.
He's pretty good.
No, he's good.
Pretty good.
He's good.
26 and 28 as a starter. That's pretty good.
If you need a backup to come in and spell your starter for 4 or 5 games, that's him. But there's this thing in the NFL that called expectations. The moment the Broncos gave him $18 million to be their starter, what did he do? Like a 1-year-old, he wet the bed. And he's going to do the same thing on Washington's watch.
Yeah, what did he do against Drew Brees in that playoff game up in Minnesota? He outplayed him and went Minnesota Miracle on him.
Skip, the flukiest season by Case Keenum.
Well, he just kept doing it all season long.
He did.
It was a season. But what did he do in Houston?
Well, it was a bad football team.
Oh, he was a bad football team. Maybe he was a bad quarterback.
Well, I hope he's really bad on week 2, but I don't think he will be.
Whatever. You already know, Skip. You play too much. You know what? Oh, I'm so worried. I'm so worried. You over there like, we gonna get it.
I'd be a little worried. That is it for us. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 9:30 Eastern. Coming up, Colin tells you why the Colts deserve blame for Andrew Luck's retirement. The Herd starts right now.
If the grand design here, and Jay-Z is one of those people you should not bet against, but if the grand design is for him ultimately to maybe own an NFL franchise, to not only to have a seat at the table, maybe to have a voice behind closed doors in that room, then I'm all for it. Could you see that happening, that Jay-Z could ultimately be the first black owner of an NFL team?
Without question. You know, you can't bet against Hove. Here's a man who came from the bottom. Here's a man who came from nothing in the Marcy projects, in the housing projects, literally selling drugs to make a way out of no way, engaging in nefarious activities, illicit activities, and yet became a businessman. As he says, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman, so let me handle my business, damn. So here's a guy who has been extremely ingenious in not only lyrical creativity and poetic invention, but also tethering that to business-like, entrepreneurial-like activities and engagement. So there's no question that this man is now a billionaire, the first billionaire within hip-hop, using his, authority, his insight, his intelligence, his broad engagement with the culture, his savvy. Why doubt him now? Everything else he's done has been golden in terms of his touching, creating something out of nothing, and using the powerful intelligence of those around him along with his own to make certain that he's doing the right thing. I definitely think that he could become the first African-American owner of a football team and therefore display again his prowess, his intelligence, and his compassion and his inclination to be a social justice advocate at every level. He's earned that benefit of the doubt, and I think there's no question that Jay-Z has those skills. Who you know fresher than Hov? Riddle me that. The rest of y'all know where he's lyrically at, so there's no question about that.
Doc, Eric Reed said something that it gave me pause. And when he said Jay-Z hadn't taken a knee, Ben Franklin had a famous quote. He said, only when those affected or unaffected are as equally as outraged as those affected can change come about. Because Jay-Z didn't take a knee, he doesn't have a right to try to fight for the very thing that you're fighting for. If we're trying to get to the same destination, does it matter the different path we take to get to that destination?
Absolutely not. And I admire greatly Mr. Reed. He's highly intelligent. He's articulate about his viewpoint, but I disagree with him in this regard. Jay-Z didn't take a knee, but he stood tall to represent the culture from which he emerges. He didn't take a knee, but he was able to stand up on his own 2 feet and represent intelligently his perspective in the world. So if you're part of a relay race, that means everybody ain't doing the same thing in order to get the same product. Look, I worked in a factory. Automobile factory. So I was working as a welder, right? An arc welder, trying to make sure that the wheel balance was correct in the wheels of the tires. So that's what I was doing. Somebody else working on the windows, somebody else working on the fenders. If you say, you know, you never made a fender, but I made the wheel brake drum. But together we created a car. So you're kneeling. That is, you know, Mr. Kaepernick's kneeling, somebody else raising a fist. Kenny Stills down in, in Miami doing what he's doing, which is extremely helpful and I think a good thing. We need everybody together, but everybody can't do the same thing. You have a division of labor. Everybody can't be a wideout. Everybody can't be a running back. Everybody can't be the quarterback. Everybody can't play offense and defense. I mean, so the point is you got to have a division of labor. To suggest that because Jay-Z didn't take a knee doesn't mean that he didn't also engage equally, if not much more so, over a history of 2 decades of doing the right thing in his own music. Here's a guy talking about police brutality long before Eric Reed was talking about it. He said, Bin Laden been happening in Manhattan. Back then, back when the police was Al-Qaeda to black men. So the reality is that this guy, Jay-Z, has made an extraordinary career about articulating the issues of police brutality, social injustice, economic inequality, and racial oppression in this country. He has earned his right to do what he does and to say what he believes.
So do you think that Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reed and Kenny Stills will be mature enough?
I'm sorry, I lost my piece here for a second. Okay.
Did we lose you for a second?
Oh, no, I got it right.
Do you think that Eric Reed and obviously Colin Kaepernick and Kenny Stills will be mature enough to eventually step back, take a deep breath, and see Jay-Z's bigger picture?
I hope so, and I think so. Look, they're all remarkable men. You know, and the reason I began my article with Malcolm X, who's a remarkable man, but when you see Malcolm X coming so viciously, so vigorously, so in an ad hominem fashion against Martin Luther King Jr., why? We don't have to do that. If you disagree, disagree. State your claim. Make apparent in plain why it is that you disagree, but you don't have to attack. You don't have to be nasty. It is perfectly reasonable to disagree with Jay-Z, but make an argument that is rooted in serious historical analysis and say that we have a principled disagreement. That's fine, but to assault him and to attack him and to suggest that he's less than an authentic man, that he's a sellout, Jay-Z, who is from the very beginning to this very point in history remained committed to blackness and identity and the culture, who makes the Louvre a footstool for the articulation of black aesthetics and culture, along with his incredible wife. I mean, these people have done extraordinary good and have had goodwill in this world. So I hope that Mr. Stills and Mr. Reed and Mr. Kaepernick will understand, because they are beautiful, powerful, engaging figures, but it's not one way or the other way. There's more than one way to get to sunset. If one street is closed, go another way. That's why detours are there. But the point is, we're still aiming for the same goal. There are many ways to skin a cat, and there are many ways to deal with a pigskin. To throw it, to punt it, to kick it, to receive it. We must all be involved in an equally engaging fashion and not, remonstrate or narrowly, despise those who may disagree with us. And I think that's wrong. To call names, Malcolm Jenkins is a highly intelligent, gifted ball player who said, I'm going to receive, along with Anquan Bolden and the Players Coalition, this $89 million that has been made as a concession from the owners of the league to do good things. What have they done? Hooked up with the Advancement Project, the Black Male Project. They've given money to projects that are serious about looking at police brutality, figuring out relationships between communities and police people and law enforcement. That is necessary work. Kneeling is one thing, strategizing is another. Protesting is one thing that's extremely important and continues to be important, while at the same time, a guy like Jay-Z is in there saying, not only let me tell you about who should appear at the halftime of the Super Bowl since I'm an entertainer, let me also suggest to you some of the projects that you should be concerned with when you're talking about criminal justice reform. Jay-Z has bailed out people. He's given money on Father's Day and Mother's Day to make sure that those who are unjustly incarcerated will be freed. So that there's a wide range of things that he has done that suggest to us he knows what he's talking about. So you don't have to attack him and brutalize him because you disagree. And I think all of those men eventually will indeed see the same, or at least come together to see that we're on the same team, we're aiming for the same goal. Sometimes there are spats, sometimes there are disagreements, but ultimately we must achieve the same common dream.
Okay. Michael, great stuff. Really important to get your take on that. Looking forward to the book as well. You obviously know him very well.
Thanks
for joining the show.
Thank you.
Jim Irsay said he would not rule out a return by Andrew Luck. We'll discuss the chances of that happening next.